Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so today we're unpacking what might just look like another crazy internet stunt on the surface, but trust me, it is actually a totally brutal psychological case study. We're looking at this massive challenge where one participant, Allison, has to survive 30 days literally chained to a complete stranger. But as you'll see, the physical torture of wearing those handcuffs, yeah, that is absolutely nothing compared to the mental gymnastics and extreme human deception she has to deal with. To really wrap our heads around the sheer intensity of this experiment, we have to start by looking at the financial stakes on the line. $250,000. That is literally life-changing money, and it acts as the ultimate pressure cooker here. Every single conversation, every shared meal, every joke they crack, it's all completely colored by the looming presence of this massive cash prize hanging over their heads.
And that brings us to the core dilemma of the whole shebang. Who can you trust? Seriously, think about it. It's hard enough trusting a lifelong friend with a massive sum of money, right? But having to build that level of trust from absolute zero while trapped in these highly unconventional environments with someone you just met, it essentially forces our participant to rely entirely on her raw, unfiltered intuition.
The absolute genius of this scenario is how the core mechanics are structured. Step 1, chain yourselves together. Step 2, survive the 30 days. And step 3, here's the kicker. The stranger secretly chooses to either split or steal the entire prize pool. It's this classic game theory setup that forces intense physical intimacy. You're literally dragging, clanking chains everywhere. You have zero personal space, and the whole time, the threat of the ultimate financial betrayal is just dangling right over Allison's head.
But just as Allison kind of gets comfortable, the organizers throw in a massive curveball, the 5-day twist. Now she has to chain herself to a new stranger every 5 days, and she has to select them based on their looks alone. Presented with a lineup, she's having to make these incredibly rapid, split-second judgments on who simply looks trustworthy. Just imagine the sheer exhaustion of having to reboot and run through those high-stakes trust-building exercises over and over again, all while you're completely sleep-deprived.
This rapid turnover subjects Allison to just an incredible variety of psychological variables and personalities. Look at this. She starts with Bryce, the biker, in a tiny house. Then she moves to Skylar, a cheerleader, right in the middle of a grocery store. Next up is Juan, the family man, followed by Jason, the cowboy, and finally Bree, who is a fierce competitor. Every single one of these strangers brings completely different life experiences, needs, and most importantly, manipulation tactics to the table.
Now, the creators of this whole thing knew that if you let people stay in one static spot, they get comfortable, they keep their guards up. So to completely shatter that, they deploy extreme environmental stress tests. By day 10, they're navigating a chaotic grocery store, and by day 15, a literal airplane is dropped and crashed onto their living space. Having to navigate tilted, chaotic wreckage while handcuffed, constantly tripping over each other, it is designed specifically to break down their psychological defenses.
And you know what? That stress testing works beautifully. Take Skylar, the cheerleader, for example. They're navigating that grocery store environment, having some seemingly innocent girl talk, when Allison casually mentions the prize money. Out of nowhere, Skylar slips up and screams, "Wait, 250?" Up until that point, Skylar had been playing this role of an oblivious, friendly companion. But under the exhausting pressure of the environment, her mask totally slips, revealing she secretly knew the massive prize amount all along.
Now, what's absolutely fascinating here is how that tiny accidental slip of the tongue instantly shatters the foundational trust they were building. The red flag isn't actually that Skylar knew about the money. Everyone knows there's a prize, right? The real red flag is the act of pretending ignorance. In high-stakes situations, unnecessarily fabricating a detail just to seem innocent acts as a massive indicator of deception. It's a classic case of information asymmetry, and Allison's gut immediately registers that the whole best friend routine is just an act. As the days just sort of blur together, Allison has to constantly evaluate these underlying motives. Let's compare the extreme contrast between Juan and Bree. Juan plainly states he wants the money to provide for his 6 kids and a father with dementia. That is a very grounded, altruistic motive. But then you have Bree, who proudly declares her cutthroat, competitive nature, bluntly stating, "I win." It heavily influences how we judge them. One is playing for survival, the other is strictly playing to win.
So as the month progresses, we start seeing these really clear psychological tells emerging under the microscope. Bryce tries way too hard to force this "I'm a good guy" persona. Jason the cowboy literally stammers and hesitates when asked point blank if he'd split the money. We already saw Skylar slip up on the numbers, and Bree goes entirely in the opposite direction, intensely overpromising her loyalty to an extreme degree.
Actually, it's wild to see how far Bree is willing to go here.
Sensing Allison's doubt, Bree pulls out the ultimate physical trump card. She literally points to her scan and says, "I literally have a tattoo that says promise." She weaponizes her own permanent body art to construct this unbreakable illusion of loyalty. It's a bold move to manipulate trust and secure her position in the game.
Okay, let's move to the finale, because everything culminates in this brilliant evaluation structure. At the end of 30 grueling days, Allison sits before all 5 strangers. The rules introduce a genius twist. First, the strangers secretly lock in whether they will split or steal. Second, Allison must eliminate them one by one based entirely on her gut instinct. And third, this is the crazy part. The eliminated players actually receive escalating cash payouts.
The mechanics of this payout are such a fascinating variation of the prisoner's dilemma. Look at this. The first person eliminated gets guaranteed 10 grand, the second gets 20 grand, and the third gets 30 grand. So the crucial point here is that by eliminating someone quickly, Allison is actually rewarding them with guaranteed cash to soften the blow of rejection. But it also means the person she trusts the absolute most gets 0 guaranteed payout. They only get paid if they honestly chose split at the very end.
Armed with everything she's observed over the month, Allison starts making her cuts. And in a stunning display of human intuition, she immediately eliminates Jason the cowboy, and then Bree the competitor. And guess what happens when the host reveals their secret choices? Both of them had secretly plotted to betray her and steal the full prize. Jason's slight verbal hesitation and Bree's aggressive tattoo promises were absolute tells, and Allison's subconscious caught both of them perfectly.
It's just such a fascinating takeaway. Allison successfully navigated massive deception, proving that under extreme pressure, subtle actions speak so much louder than loud promises. Despite the literal tattoos, all the forced camaraderie, and, surviving a crashed airplane together, human intuition proved incredibly effective. She didn't need a polygraph test. She just had to trust her gut on who felt authentic versus who was just playing a character.
This entire social experiment shows us exactly what happens when forced physical proximity collides with extreme financial temptation. And honestly, it leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought to consider. If the roles were reversed, if you were the stranger holding the button with $250,000 on the line, would you split it or would you steal it all? Think about it. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.